Okay. All right. Bueno, bienvenidos. Welcome everybody to cohort 17's demo day. You can applaud now. They all look so happy and relaxed to be here, don't they? We're super proud of them. They've done a great job. And I think you're going to agree with me after you hear their presentations, listen to their presentations, ask questions. Great job, you guys. I know you're going to do great. Before we get started, if we haven't met yet, I think I know most everybody here, but if not, I am Mercedes Diaz, Mercy. I'm the director of Holberton, Puerto Rico. So we're very happy to have you all here. And we're also very happy to have the people who are watching remotely via Zoom. Thank you so much for connecting and being part of our demo day. I want to introduce all of you to our judges panel. Our judges have a very special role today. I've already told them, but I should tell all of you as well. They're going to ask questions, give feedback. They're going to be judging your performance, but don't worry, it doesn't count towards your grade. But we're very lucky that they're here because you're going to get real industry feedback on what things you could improve or what things you think about for your project. So we're very, very happy to have them here. And I want everybody to meet them. Let's get started from over here, this corner, Justin, England. Justin is the Chief Information Officer at Coqui Health, and he brought his posse today. So applaud for the boss. Coqui Health is a great partner to Holberton School. We're very happy that we are collaborating. They develop custom software integrations and EPA compliant cloud microservices for laboratories and related clients in the healthcare industry. Now, before working for Coqui Health, Justin was the Director of Information Technology at Global Classroom and was the Vice President of Technology at ICSIS. So thank you so much for being here today, for your time. We have Juisa Sonera here with us. Juisa is the founder and chief executive officer at Switch BTC, and the BTC stands for Business Transformation Consulting. And that's really what they do. They're also partners with Holberton, and they help us run our customer relationship manager software, Salesforce. At Switch, the information power of Salesforce as a customer relationship manager tool is leveraged to ensure efficient growth and scalability. Juisa is an experienced Salesforce.com administrator with a demonstrated history of working in the consumer goods industry in various leadership roles. So thank you so much for being here today. And last but not least, a new friend to the school. His name is Danny Muskrat. Danny is the Senior Vice President and Technology Services Division Manager at Popular. He has direct oversight of software engineering, enterprise architecture, ITSM, IT operations, infrastructure, and end user support units across 2 bank charters, Banco Popular de Puerto Rico and Popular Bank in the US. He's also a member of the Technology Oversight Committee and Cybersecurity Committee. He's executive leader alongside the CIO and deputy CIO with the Innovation, Technology, and Operations Group. And prior to Popular, Danny also had senior information and technology roles at Guarantee Bank and Trust and American Bank in Texas. So thank you so much for saying yes, and accepting our invitation and being with us today. With no further ado, I'm going to introduce you now to our software engineer and education lead at Holberton, Puerto Rico. He is the mentor and coach for all these students that are here on stage today, and he will talk to you about what's going to happen today and help us transition into your presentation. So thank you very much for being here.
All right. Welcome, everyone. How you guys doing today? Good. I'm so happy to see the room full with alumni, family, and other people from different fields in the tech industry, because today is a very important day, as Mercy was mentioning. Today, they get to present their portfolio project. And why is this project so important? It is very important because it showcases the students' unique interests and background when doing networking or when interviewing with potential employers. It also creates a realistic workplace scenario where engineers create a solution to fit loosely defined requirements break this down into concrete tasks and implement for a deadline. And also it allows for self-directed learning to explore a new technical topic, deepen the understanding of a curriculum covered topic, or use technology to bring an idea to life. And let me tell you, each team is unique because they bring a new idea and a new proposal to show you today. And I've been experiencing close hand their hard work throughout these 9 months, where some of they started with no prior knowledge or experience with computer or whatsoever. Others that might have had some experience, but they want to jumpstart their career. So we have a myriad of different profiles in our students, and you're gonna see them now in the presentation. Enough of me talking. Let's move to the protagonist of today's day, which are our students. And we're gonna start with Andy. Andy is gonna present us everybody'sweb.com. Okay.
Testing. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Andy Stone. I'm from Minnesota, and before I came to Holberton, I was a mechanical engineer. Over the years, I've worked at a lot of companies, and I've always found that I end up doing these repetitive tasks that could really be turned into code, and my job would be a lot easier, more fun, and less boring. So I got a little bit interested in coding, and then ended up here at Holberton. So now I'm just going to present my project, which is called Everybody's Web. And all right, go to the next slide. So the first point I want to make before I introduce my project is that in the modern society, our modern populace lives two very distinct lives. And to kind of explain what I mean by that, I want to show you a picture. So this is a picture of my family from 2 years ago. We had a little Halloween party. And this is us living our physical life. This is, we're all together. We're all happy, smiling, talking, laughing, eating, all that. And we're all in the same room, and it's physical. But if we zoom in, you can go to the next slide and zoom in a little further, and maybe to the left, and then a little further, and you'll see there it is. That's the other life we live. That's our digital life. So go to the next slide. You can see this. This is my sister's digital life. This is her Facebook profile on a smartphone. And my sister posts absolutely everything on Facebook. Like, next slide, she posts pictures of her family. Of course, everybody does that. She posts pictures of her runs, and she posts pictures of portable toilets lined up by a lake at sunset. So everything she does, she puts it on Facebook for everybody to see. And this is her digital life. But you can only access this if you also have a digital life. So if we go back to this original picture of my family, this beautiful picture with 4 generations in it, it's a beautiful picture when you look at it from the perspective of our physical life. But if you look at it from the perspective of our digital life, this is what it looks like. Grandma is gone. She doesn't know how to use a computer. She doesn't know how to use technology. She doesn't have Facebook, Google, nothing. She never has, and she never will. And so she can't access any of these pictures that my sister's posting, or that I'm posting, or that literally everyone in this picture has a digital life that she can't access. So that's what everybody'sweb.com is for. It's to give grandma a digital life. So how do we do that? It's very simple. We take her TV and we connect it to a Raspberry Pi or like a microcomputer, and we connect that to the internet, and that's it. Grandma has a digital life, and that's my presentation. So I'm just kidding. Next slide. So really the long-term goal of this project would be to have some kind of system that would scrape the web, find information that would be relevant to my grandma, and turn it into kind of a television channel format so that she can flip through her television and see Facebook pictures, Instagram pictures, all that stuff. And from her perspective, it's just like using a normal TV. but really she's accessing all these internet resources. So this is the whole scope of the internet. And in this 3 weeks, I don't really have time to implement all of this. So if you go to the next slide, this is the scope of my project. It's a video chat. So my goal was to create a video chat app where anybody can log onto my website and start a live video chat with my grandma or whoever has one of these devices without my grandma requiring any technological skills. So here's how I did it. I'm going to walk you through what the technology is, basically from how the user uses it, what technologies it uses, and how the program flows all at once. So if I sit down and I want to call grandma, I would go to everybody'sweb.com/call/grandma. And that last part, the part in bold, grandma, that's a unique identifier. So there's a Raspberry Pi, a microcomputer out there somewhere that's connected with that URL. So anybody in the world who calls this URL will be able to make a video call with my grandma. So next slide, we send that off to the server, and the server says, all right, I'll help you connect with grandma. And inside the server, we've got all this stuff running. We've got, basically, if you're a technical person, this is a variation of a LAMP stack configuration. And it's got an Nginx web server, a G-Unicorn application server, MySQL database, and Python and Flask micro framework. And they're all working together very hard, doing lots of things. And I'd love to talk more about what they're doing after the demo day if anyone's interested, but I don't have time now. But they make this very beautiful thing. It's the most beautiful thing. It's an HTML file. And it's embroidered in gold, and it's got everything we need to make a connection with grandma. So there's kind of 3 parts to this. There's the top, which is a bunch of metadata. And we'll get back to the importance of that data later. There's the center part, which is classic HTML. It's kind of how the page is laid out, where the videos are and where the buttons are. And the bottom part is a bunch of scripts that will tell the browsers exactly what they need to do to make the connection between each other. So this HTML document gets sent back to me, and I'm disappointed because that's not grandma. So I'm like, what do I do with this? But luckily, the browser takes over. The browser is a specialist at reading HTML documents. So it starts reading this, and it decides, okay, I'll just follow these instructions. It goes to the bottom where all that JavaScript is, and it goes through those instructions, and those are what will help us connect a video chat. So the first thing that it does is it asks if grandma is free, and does this through the API. It asks the server, is grandma free? If she is, it does the next part, which is it logs into the Agora messaging app. And this is important, but we're going to talk about its significance later. The third thing that it does is it tells grandma's Raspberry Pi that we want to make a call. We want to make a connection. Now, we can't just magically beam a signal to grandma's Raspberry Pi. So the only person that can tell grandma's Raspberry Pi that is the server itself. So we actually do this. We tell the server that we need this connection. Then the server tells grandma, okay, someone's trying to call you. The Raspberry Pi says, all right, roger that. I'll start following my instructions. And the first thing it does is it turns on the TV of the user who's connected, who is hooked up to this Raspberry Pi. The second thing it does is open up a browser in full screen and navigate to everybody'sweb.com. And at this point, the browser again takes over. It's now in charge. So at this point, we've got my browser in green, and we've got grandma's browser in purple. And they're both logged on to the internet, and they're both logged into this Agora app. And if you remember that metadata that I was talking about earlier in the HTML file, well, one important point is anybody logged into Agora can talk to any other browser as long as they know the other browser's ID. So one of the pieces of data in that original HTML file was my grandma's browser's ID. So I'm able to send a message to my grandma. I say, hey, grandma. And my grandma, her browser doesn't really know who I am because I just have a random ID, but it knows that I got her contact info from the server. So it says, all right, you're good. Let's talk. And my browser says, all right, let's do WebRTC. And what WebRTC is it's different than this text messaging app that we're using right now, because for text messages, it's just very small bits of data. But WebRTC is sending large amounts of data flowing in both directions, audio and video. So in order to have an audio and video connection, that's what we need to set up. So in order to set up WebRTC, these two browsers need to share a lot of different information about the video they're sending, about how you can connect with them, about lots and lots of things. So that's what they do. They're going to go through this little data exchange process. It's called WebRTC negotiation. And once they're done with that, voila, you've got a WebRTC connection. So at this point, data is able to stream from peer to peer from one browser to the other. And all that's left to do is plug that video and audio into the screen. And now there we have it. Grandma says, hi, Andy. And Andy says, wow, that was easy. And then you can see the developer in the background saying, no, it really was not easy at all. But that is, I'd love to talk more about my app, but I don't have that much time. So if anybody wants to talk about it after, definitely approach me. As far as my biggest challenges and what I learned, the biggest challenges were definitely networking aspects. There are so many different servers that are sending and receiving messages to make this happen. Some servers that I'm in control of, and some servers that are third party that I have to talk to them. And it gets very complicated. Different servers will allow different requests to come in and go out. And so I had to learn a lot about the internet and the wild, wild west of what the internet is. And then what did I learn? I'm going to say not just during this project, but during the last 10 months that I've been at Holberton, I've learned a ton. Like I've learned more than I've ever learned in any other educational experience, like truly. And for this project, even though it's very different from any Holberton project that we did as part of the curriculum, what I used to implement it is basically a sum of everything that we learned in Holberton. There's nothing really new in my project. So what I learned was everything we learned at Holberton, and doing this project, I guess, just gave me a deeper understanding of the concepts that we studied at Holberton. So that's it. I'm just going to show you a short demo of how this works. I sent a Raspberry Pi to my parents in Minnesota, and we had a call last night. There's no volume on this TV, so I'm just going to kind of narrate what's going on. But you can go ahead and press play. So first thing I do is I navigate to everybody'sweb.com/call-grandma, and I have this set up at my parents' house. So this is not my grandma when you see them. But I'm going to get to this page. And if you can see on the bottom right corner, my video automatically starts to stream. And once I want to make the call, I click the start call button. You can see there's a little delay here, and that's where this WebRTC negotiation process is happening. It takes a few seconds, and once the screen turns black, which should be in any moment, this is when WebRTC has been established. So at this point, there is now audio and video is able to go back and forth. Now, because of privacy reasons, I didn't want the other side's camera to turn on right away. So I have to request video and then ask for a code that shows up at the bottom of their screen. As soon as I type in that code, I can now see their video as well. So now we have a fully functioning two-way video chat. They never had to turn the TV on. They never had to switch input. They never had to touch a mouse or a keyboard or anything. And when I end the call, they're saying goodbye. That's going to turn their TV off. And it's going to be like they never had to do a thing. So that's my product. That's my presentation. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna open a round of questions. I'm gonna start with the panel of judges first, and then if in the back you have any question, don't feel free to raise your hand, and I'm gonna go ahead towards you. Okay, so from here, who wants to start? Justin, Luisa, Danny? Okay, let's start with Danny.
Hey, great job with the presentation, by the way. Love the grandma tie-in. And first thing I thought about was my grandma. I have a grandma that loves to text. She's 94 years old. And I think this really, like you said, makes it a little easier for her to interact with her digital family. One question, this is more of a functional question. My mind went first to, got to protect grandma, because you hear about all the elder scams that are going on out there. And with the one username, did you give any thought, if you were to have more than 3 weeks and you could add some more functionality, how would you add a layer of security to making sure that grandma isn't contacted by just anyone out there that guesses her username?
Whoa, that just got louder. Yeah, I've thought about that a lot, and I've definitely thought more about the technical aspects, because that's what we had to get done by the end of this project. On the one hand, I would like it to be so that anybody could call her, because I have a lot of relatives that are tech savvy enough to probably use this and call her, but not tech savvy enough to maybe make a user account and do all that. So I like the accessibility of not having to log in. I think for this to be a viable product, yeah, you're right. There has to be a lot more thought into the security, the privacy, the ethics of it, because you're accessing a webcam really with very little consent. So those are good questions. I don't have an answer, but good question.
I'm sure with more time that all that would come, but I love the simplicity of it. Great job.
Thank you.
Hi. So yeah, I was just curious, are you going to continue running this for your family and like deploy it out among other relatives?
Yeah, I definitely plan on deploying it at my grandma's. It works probably 80% of the time right now. And in order to deploy it, I want it doesn't need to work 100% of the time, but it needs to function such that if it fails from her side, it doesn't cause any problems, because that will just make her frustrated with her TV, right? So I've got to get to that point before I'm going to deploy it, but I do plan to continue working on it until it's at that point. Yeah.
And do you have a plan for like just updates and things like that, reboots, in case something freezes or anything of that nature?
The plan is to work on that.
Okay. But great job. You definitely identified a really useful, outstanding use case, approached it with something accessible to the non-tech community. And I think this kind of thinking is going to pave the way for a much more integrated bridge between the digital world and the physical. So great job.
Thank you.
Good job, great job. I love the concept. I also love the story. My question is more about the challenges that you have to overcome, and specifically with the third parties. Have you been working with the conversations and how you overcome those conversations in terms of the connectivity and agreements that you have to work with?
So when you say third parties, you're talking about like, because there's a lot of yeah, this being a demo day project and not like a company, nobody's really interested in talking to me and explaining to me how I can work with their product. So it was really just a process of reading documentation and trial and error and figuring out how things get from one place to another, as well as basic internet security concepts like the CORS policy. That was something that kept the CORS policy is cross-origin resource sharing policy, which prevents, if you go to one website, it prevents that website from like sending it to another website and then that sending back to you. And since I'm kind of trying to send things all over the place, that kept kicking me in the butt. So learning how to navigate that, what I needed to do to make sure the connections could be made was a big challenge. Another big challenge was, and this is thankfully a challenge, but getting webcam to turn on from a remote source without consent. Every single part of the internet is trying to stop that from happening, which is good, except for in this particular application. But that was another thing that I had to get through. And yeah, I mean, like you said, working with third parties as a demo project, companies aren't interested in talking you through things, and you're not paying them anything. So it is all about reading documentation, forums, and that kind of thing. Thank you.
We have a question from someone who's connected remotely. It's Pedro Nieves from Lockheed Martin, and he wants to know if there are any additional hardware requirements other than the Raspberry Pi.
So in order for the TV to turn on automatically, it needs to have HDMI CEC capabilities, which pretty much any modern day TV has. But you also have to have that enabled, which is not always the case. So you would have to go into your TV and enable that. But otherwise, no, I mean, Wi-Fi, it's just the Raspberry Pi is acting as an intermediary. Most of the stuff that's happening is going on the server, which is an AWS server. So that's where all these files are being generated and the instructions about how to connect are being generated. So yeah, Raspberry Pi, webcam, nothing else.
All right, super. Let's give him an applause. Andy is very passionate. Like in my time knowing him, he likes to challenge himself. And this project represented something very deep to his because it was something regarding his grandma. And watching him achieve it is so gratifying. Good job, Andy. So now let's move on to the next team. Next team has a very interesting project too. And also has an inspirational story behind it that is very dear to the heart. Okay, so let's receive Fernando and Xavier. They're going to present us ASL learning. Come on.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. Today's our project is called ASL Learning. The team, myself is Xavier Perez Cabrera. My previous knowledge about coding was from a little college community that is called Colegio Universitario de San Juan. And I studied for a year, but sadly for COVID, the transition was kind of difficult. So I started to lose some kind of the perspective of technology. And that's when I found out Holberton a year later. And thanks to Holberton, I see coding and programming from another perspective.
All right, and I am the second half of ASL Learning. My name is Fernando Aponte. I am the handsome gentleman to the left of the screen. I am from Puerto Rico, a small town to the south. I have a bachelor's degree in business, worked at a call center, wasn't fulfilled, didn't really enjoy the job, was looking for new opportunities, found Holberton, and I'm happy to say that it was a great decision. I've learned a lot. And this project, working with Xavier, was definitely rewarding in and of itself, as well as the 10 months that we spent. All right, our application, ASL Learning, is basically, well, let me first explain what ASL stands for. ASL stands for American Sign Language. It's our page is dedicated basically a simple interface, a simple way for users to learn American Sign Languages using mainly flashcards. We wanted to implement quizzes, as well as history as what ASL is, a background on sign language and how technologies today use sign language.
The inspiration of our project is to help the ASL community with those language barriers. For example, my dad is one of the part of those ASL communities because he's deaf, and he has some tools and some kind of practices that can help him on short term and for his own beneficial issues. But for example, if he goes out, for example, a coffee shop or a bookstore, he will have a difficult time communicating because very few people, even so the trained ones only know about ASL. So I really wanted to make a free website to help those people that want to be integrated in this community, because they are open and they're happy that little by little people learn American Sign Language.
Before we continue, there are other resources for learning American Sign Languages, though one of the main focuses that we want to have is for it to be free and easy to understand. A lot of it requires maybe a steep entry barrier, or a lot of it costs money. We wanted to have something really simple that a user could just go in and learn sign language. On the front end, we both worked on the front end aspect. We use React and JavaScript. We wanted to use React because we know that it's well used. It's pretty well used around the industry, and we wanted to learn. We knew nothing about React, but we used it throughout the project, and it definitely was a great learning experience. Although we did have some challenges, as we always do, learning anything new, but we definitely enjoyed using React.
On the backend side, for now, the web page doesn't have a backend because when I was trying to implement some kind of API for the flashcards and new features, it didn't feel well or something crashes. So we use a backup plan to only make the static front-end website. As previously said, one of the greatest challenges was making the API that is kind of sad to not be implemented, but the positive way is that you can learn how to make backup plans for not losing time and to know how to see different errors in different perspectives to better yourself in the future.
Another challenge that we had, as we said earlier, we wanted to keep everything simple, make it easy for the user to use the interface. Specifically with the flashcards, we have images displaying the hand signs. Setting up the images so that they look clean and they don't, some images might overtake the flashcard themselves. We wanted everything to look as clean as possible. That was a challenge. Luckily we were able to overcome it, as well as make the flashcards random. So you don't just memorize the alphabet, and you can actually learn from it. Our flashcard tech is our main feature. That's what we mainly worked on. The flashcards, they display the entire alphabet as well as the numbers 0 through 9. Once you click on the cards, the answer is behind with a nice little animation. As I said, one of the challenges was making it look clean and like easy for the user to see. Thankfully, we got that done. As you can see, we spoke earlier on the the backup plan that we had because we could not find an API regarding to sign language. Our original plan was to make our own API. We had some issues with the back end. So thankfully we have backup plans for our backup plans. And we pretty much, as you can see on our code, we created our own flashcards. An array, we have an ID for each flashcard, an image displaying the hand sign, and the answer which you see on the back.
The future updates and plans for the website is a quiz functionality. We can put different kinds of questions. We can put photos so that the user can practice to recognize the hand signs, some phrases, and even has some trivia from the ASL history so they can learn more about this beautiful community. And using a webcam, using hand recognition. So when the user wants to practice a little bit more deeper, they can, with the functionality of the webcam, they can use different kind of signs and display, depending on the sign they use, display the letter of the webcam that recognize the letter that the user is presenting.
Other plans that we have, as we spoke earlier on the American Sign Language history, we do want a sort of page where you can find history and information on American Sign Languages and any new technologies that are coming up. We do have basically a base form of that page that we made, but we originally wanted to include it in the landing page as a sort of an introduction with some neat animations. We didn't get that to work, even though we do have a separate page on with some small information on American Sign Language, but we really wanted to get it a deeper dive into that information, as well as we wanted to add, this is more in line with the quiz functionality, user login and metrics, so you could track your progress and how well you're doing and what you're learning. That would be a future plan that we have for the page. And as well, keep it simple. We want to keep everything as simple as possible. All right, here we have our landing page. If you can please play the video. It's a nice, simple landing page. We have the title at the top. We have the nice lady speaking in sign language with the nice man. Towards the top right, we can see we have the ASL menu, our about section, and our flashcards. I'm going to click on the ASL section. As you can see, that's the museum section. It just have some small info and some small pictures with a basic layout. Not too much work done because we actually want to implement it into the landing page with a nice animation, make everything look clean. But we do have that section. The other card is our main feature, which is the flashcards. As you can see, flashcards are all neatly ordered in groups of 4. Once you click on them, you can see the actual letter that it has. You can see we have these letters right here. And I'm going to show soon, once we reload the page, that they're entirely randomized. There we go. We show them again. And right there, we have numbers as well. I have the nice little animation and everything looks nice and clean, which is one of our main focuses. All right, and back to the home page. Oh, once again, if you reload, just as is proof that it's entirely randomized. Every time you enter, there's a new order to the sign language.
As a bonus, going to preview a sneak peek of a future feature that I previously mentioned is about the hand recognition. For now, it only recognizes the letters from the A to the F. And as you can see, depending on the sign, it shows what letter is showing. It uses MediaPipe and TensorFlow, and it uses about, for example, for the A, they uses about 200 pictures, and those pictures run to a teachable machine that transfer them into a file that when you boot up the webcam, uses for reference that file for recognizing depending of the sign that you want to show on the webcam. On the top is detecting the image depending on the distance of the webcam, and the other one is the wide distance.
Back to the slides. There we go.
And that's it of our presentation. Thank you for your attention.
As well as we have the link right there if anyone wants to visit the page. I see that. All right. Any questions?
So let's do the same round again. We start with Justin, right?
No, it's exciting to see the approach to your project, and I can see that it had an ambitious scope when you started. So yeah, congratulations on making it as far as you did. What challenges did you find with computer vision related to TensorFlow and object recognition?
Oh, that's the
For now, I don't have an exact answer because I didn't. If I use it like a base of framework that already has that, like an open source that it has like everything set up. So I really want to give you an answer, but I don't have one right now.
Okay, well, still, I think it's encouraging to see, that sort of thinking, because yeah, that bridge between the digital and the physical is going to keep breaking down. So, those technologies that empower that are part of the future. So good thinking.
Great job. Congratulations. I love this community. I feel a lot of affinity with them. So I think that there's a lot of need in this area. But my question is in terms of the user experience, what are the considerations that you or the things that you consider and the resources that you use to develop and design your user experience?
On the user experience, what we most wanted to focus on was making it as easy to understand, as simple. That's why our main focus was the flashcards, because it has images. Quizzes are great, but I felt like the flashcard implementation would have worked better for the user to learn, as well as with the landing page. We wanted to keep everything as simple and as easy, clean as possible.
Great job. Again, big scope that you took on, like what you accomplished so far. On the technical side, what was the back end that gave you so much trouble? What did you guys try?
I was trying to use Node.js with Express, and for the database, I was using MongoDB. I had a lot of problems for connecting them and to run smoothly. And even for example, for the flashcards, to instead of making it hard coded for every single photo, we will have only a database, but that was a big problem. But at least thanks to the backup plan, we didn't lose too much time, and at least we have some kind of demo project.
I'm sure it's something you could figure out with a little more time. On the functional side, I'm curious, with you did the alphabet and then I think you said 0 through 9. What would you tackle next on flashcards? Just curious, with your experience communicating maybe with your father, what area would you think is the next area to add to the flashcard?
I have a solid idea for flashcards. I don't know how I would make it work, but I'd like for instead of the flashcard page displaying the entire alphabet, let's say it displays four hand signs, and they say maybe hello, and you would have to guess what it says. And you could flip them over and you see if you got it right or wrong.
Very good. Thank you very much. Great job.
Any questions from the back? No? Good. Okay, so nice job, guys. Noticing how these two previous ideas, they tackle minorities, right? First, people who are not tech savvy in case of Andy's grandma, and now another minority community with deaf people, right? And this is great how they take on the technology and try to, get to that niche and improve it somehow. And that is very satisfying to see that willingness in the students nowadays. Now, let's move on to the next team. And this team is gonna bring up new stuff to the stage, right? The team is composed of Alexander and Jose Fabre, and they created Votero. Come on.
Hey, um, hello. How are you doing today? Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you here and happy for presenting our final project and very happy for being with these guys from 9 months, and it's been an incredible journey, guys. So, well, we're Team Botero. My name is Jose Andres Fabre. I was born in Puerto Rico, raised in Guatemala, and I'm very passionate about technology and philosophy.
My name is Alexander Bowen. I'm passionate about coding and I have a bachelor degree in computer science.
So, what was the inspiration? About 5 years ago, I was at University of Puerto Rico studying economics and philosophy. And at the moment, there was a very hot topic. It was the independence of Catalonia in Spain. And I was very excited about that topic, what was going on there, and see what's going on. So, 3 years ago, they took the independent party of the independent leaders of. Okay, give me a second. The independent party leaders to to trail, and they streamed that trail through YouTube. And I was at summer. I was having some relaxed moments in the house. I was watching all the trail. At one moment, I was something interesting that one of the persons that what they were interrogating was a developer, and the leaders of the independent party took this person and started talking to him they hired this guy to develop a voting system through blockchain. And that was the first time that I was really interested about this topic, because it was something out of the finance industry. It was something that we can create and trust and confidence through the process. So that's where we get the inspiration from. But why blockchain? Blockchain is immutable, distributed, decentralized, and secure. Everything that a voting process needs. We need to be secure, distributed, and immutable. All the votes that we must keep in that way. So next slide. Why the voting process? For that, I'm gonna talk to you about Alexander Tocqueville. He was a 19th century philosopher, diplomat, and political science. Best known for his work in democracy in America. He was thinking about why some democracies work and some others don't. So he came from French and started studying the democratic process and in the US. One of the conclusions that he got in his book was that in the election process, the only moment when we're in the election process is the only moment where we are truly equal. It doesn't matter your social status. It doesn't matter what you study. It doesn't matter where you live. Your vote counts the same as any other citizen. So in that specific moment, I think that we should prevail and secure it, and it should be a clear process. That's why blockchain, it's important for this specific process. So that's why blockchain.
The technologies. Speaking about technologies and how we separate our work, we actually we're both new to this technology. So we actually work together in every aspect, like the front end and the back end. Now, Solidity is a programming language used for smart contracts. Smart contracts are the way how you interact with the blockchain. What we use is we use them to interact with the front end and the back end, which the back end is gonna be the smart contract. We use React for animations, for buttons, just to make the funnel more clear. MetaMask is very important because it's how users will be able to make the sanctions or to vote, and they will be used to log in into our web page. Hard was used to test our smart contract in the blockchain, and it was used to be deployed in the blockchain. Alchemy was the tool for deploying our smart contract into the blockchain, our testnet. So this is our smart contract. It's very simple. It's just it can receive votes, it can add candidates, it can install information about the candidates like their ID, their name, and how many votes a candidate has. Now we will show a video of our project. As you can see, we don't count the numbers, we count percentage. Now, it doesn't show, but Carlos now has 2 votes, Manu has 1, Luis has 1, so we have 15. Now we're gonna connect the wallet, which is how the users will be able to interact with our web page and the smart contract. It's very simple, everything is free, but our web page is still not complete. Our voting functionality is coming soon. So we have to now go to Etherscan. Etherscan is a very useful tool because it let us see how our contract is in the blockchain. We can see when it was deployed, when someone adds a candidate, when someone votes, which is one of the main reasons we want to use the blockchain, because it lets everybody see what is going on. So that's also my contract in the blockchain. Now we're gonna see some functionality. You can see how many candidates there are right now. You can see information about the candidate. You just point their ID, like candidate 1 has ID 1, have 2 votes, and his name is Carlos. Now we're gonna write into the smart contract to vote. You just need the ID and a MetaMask account. Now you're gonna see some transactions, but we deploy a smart contract in our testnet. That means like it's now using real money. It's like for money, like Monopoly. Now the blockchain is kind of slow, so it's gonna take a minute for the transaction to appear, but so in a second now you can see in your MetaMask or in Etherscan, you can see that you voted, when you voted, how many ethers you wasted, it's free. And now we're gonna see in our website how it changes. We see Carlos have 50, Luis Manuel had 20, and Luis have 25. But now it changed because now Carlos and Luis has 2 votes and Manuel has 1. Thank you.
So we can have the interaction with this. One of the So the biggest now we're gonna talk about the challenges. One of the biggest challenges that we have is to understand the technology and how to interact from the with the from the front end to the with the smart contract. So at the beginning, we thought to use Morales. Yeah, Morales, that they market themselves about 6 months ago, about that they were the Firebase of Web3. So they implement a lot of technology and help you a lot with the interaction with the smart contract. But about 2 months ago, they just moved most of their services and just use APIs. So Morales wasn't an option. Then we tried to work with Third Web. It was cool, but I didn't like it because we have to work with a lot of dependencies, and as a lot of areas in life, if you have a lot of dependencies, it's not gonna work. So we decided to to work with Web3.js. Web3.js is the base of the market or the standard of the industry right now. So we thought, okay, it's the only option right now, so let's use it. So with Web3.js, we can create an interaction with the blockchain and the smart contract. We can access information from the smart contract, but we couldn't send the vote. We need to work in that with that specific function and bottom. We're working on that. We have been a week working with that, but it was tough. But yeah, that's most of the biggest challenges that we had.
I'm gonna talk about our learning experience. For me, my learning experience was kind of rough. I know in the beginning of the project, when Jose approached me, I know nothing about blockchain or this technology or smart contracts. But in Holberton, we usually learn a lot of technologies fast and quickly. So, you know, I handled it, and it was a very good experience just to understand how this new technology works. And
Go back. My learning experience was very fun. I really like working with Hardhat and Alchemy, see all the data, playing with the nodes, the console, interacting with the smart contract through Hardhat. That was really cool. It's a really good technology. If you can have the opportunity to play with it, go for it. And Alchemy is awesome as well. Future plans. Fix the voting, the vote bottom bug. We're working on that. Research about the possibilities of using ERC 201155 token in order for the voters use it to vote and also to identify the people that can vote, and explore the possibility to create a DAO that can create a voting process. Any question?
Let's go with the judges. I'm going to start with you, Daniel.
Thank you. Great job. You guys definitely tackled a very challenging technology. I'm curious, just on if you had more time again, that question, how would you reduce the barriers to entry for end users to have access to this voting? Did you think about what the user interface might look like, or how you might integrate into an app that everyone uses?
Yeah, this wasn't the final front end that we wanted to use. The voting button really took a lot of time to figure it out. So it took a lot of time for the front end. It's very difficult right now with the technology that we have to make it friendly for people that doesn't really know about blockchain technology. But it's not that hard, to be honest with you. Just a little bit of information, how to use a wallet, interact with it. So it will be basically divided in 3 different areas. For example, the first idea that I have, it was the landing page, then a registration with the MetaMask connecting button. Then we will go to the ballot area, choosing the different ballots, and then the results. That was basically the flow that I was thinking. But yeah, it took a lot of time to doing the transaction to the blockchain. It was tough. But how to make it easier in a UI? That's one of the challenges, to be honest. All over the globe, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. Great job.
Congratulations again. I would like to know, in terms of the roles and the tasks, that how you divide the tasks to perform the project.
We work in everything together.
So it was a mismatch.
Um,
Hi, yeah, great job, and you have a very ambitious set of technologies you're exploring. So in your experience, what do you think are the strongest, most trustworthy Web3 technologies that you're aware of? And are there sort of better choices that you might use in the future if you were to have more time?
Definitely Algorand.
And what made it so reliable? Like, why would you trust it for other applications?
First of all, the person that created Algorand is a very smart guy, and you know the second generation of blockchain Ethereum that it does that the trade the en español se dice the trilemma of blockchain. So they basically destroy the trilemma. So the trilemma of the blockchain is that there are three elements that in a blockchain exist or can exist. A blockchain should be secure, should scale, and should be scalable, secure, and decentralized. So Vitalik said that, or the trilemma said that only two of those elements can coexist, not the three. So Algorand, as far as I know, broke the trilemma and has a very useful, well, interaction, and it's cheap and it's really scalable and it's cool.
No, awesome. And is there, have you thought about like trustworthiness to end users as well? Like, how would they know that their vote was counted while not revealing their own vote, like, you know, and exposing themselves? Is there any like, I don't know, like a sticker I voted or whatever you get from the polls like we do in real life?
So every transaction is basically in the blockchain, you know? So I don't
So
quite get the idea.
it would de-anonymize it then, that's what you're saying?
I didn't get, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question, I'm sorry.
I guess my assumption was that voting remains anonymous and yet like auditable, so that you know, if we're going to trust it to a technology, it should be as trustworthy as a paper ballot that's unforgeable. So have you thought about like that, how you would convince the general public to adopt a system like this for use, and how you could sort of increase their trust in the system you've created?
Yeah, for now, I haven't thought about that, but at least to keep it anonymous, it's for what I have heard and read, it's expensive, so it might not work for now, but in the future, definitely we're gonna be using it for the voting process. That's for sure.
There are also different coins. Different coins do different things. There's a coin right now that's named Monero. That's its sole purpose is just, well, the blockchain is for the user or everyone to see what's happening. But Monero, you know, sole focus is to not do that. It's just to anonymize everything. So something that we could do is like use a different coin. Now we're not using a testing coin, like it's a fake money, so everything will be seen. So we could use something like La Moneda or a different coin that would anonymize different users. Yeah.
Great job. And I think this will go a long way, towards future tech you'll get to build and play with in the future. So good job.
Any question from the back? Thank you, guys. Interesting take on the voting system. I like how Alexander was like, I handled it. It's funny because he dived himself into these new technologies, blockchain, Web3, and all that stuff. And Jose was very supportive with him because he was more into it. And yes, that's part of what programmers do. We need to take on new stuff and go with it. But that's part of their skills, their adaptability. Okay, and that's very important. So now we're gonna welcome to the stage, last but not least, Code Pocket, and the team is in charge of Aiden, David, and Chris Lind.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Hello, everyone. We are excited to see you guys all here today, but we are even more excited to showcase what we've been working on since the beginning of October. And that's our project we call Code Pocket. Excellent. This is us, the team. I'm Christopher Lind. I'm not from Puerto Rico, if you can't tell. I came here about a year ago just to spend Christmas with my dad, but I have a background where I like building computers, troubleshooting issues with them, anything that has to do with the computer. So I was drawn to Holberton when I was here, and I took a tour of the campus and I loved it. I told my dad, I was like, I want to come here. Can I live with you and study? And he was like, perfect, let's do it. So that's a little bit about me.
So my name is David Rodriguez Jimenez. I'm like the opposite of Chris. So where he comes from a little background of computers and stuff, I'm the complete opposite. I have a bachelor's degree in education, so I'm actually a history teacher. Nothing to do with software, nothing to do with computers whatsoever. Before the year started, I had never seen a single piece of code in my life. But I decided that I needed a little bit of a change. I wasn't quite content with where my career was going. I got suggestions from about Holberton for some friends. I decided to give it a shot, and well, it was a shot well given. I actually kind of really like this, so I'm definitely going to stick here.
And hello, everyone. My name is Aiden Martinez Davila, and I'm from Canovanas, Puerto Rico. I have a bachelor's degree in video game design. And before graduating, I found this basic programming class, and I really enjoyed software development. And then after graduating, I came to Holberton and tried it out, and it was the right shot.
So what is Code Pocket? It's code, but in your pocket. We need a little bit of backstory to understand what that means. So in Holberton every day, we do a stand-up meeting. And in these meetings, we talk about various things, share ideas. And our lead mentor, Adam, proposed an idea for a piece of code that he thought would help him out. When he goes to restaurants, he likes to round his tip up so the total always ends in a certain number. For example, 54. And he can look at his bank account and be like, okay, this restaurant, oh, at 54, that was me that did that. He's like, it would be really cool if you could write a program that did this. And I told David, I was like, well, we could do that easy, but how are you going to use that at the restaurant? You're going to whip out your laptop and be like, hold on, I got to run this code to get my tip. No, we wanted to put that on your phone. So that's what Code Pocket is. It's a way to access code that you wrote and generate output on your phone.
So I'm going to talk about a little bit of our front-end technologies that we use. We use CSS mainly to style everything throughout our app and bring a cohesive design and seamless user experience. And we also use React because it's high in demand and high in popularity right now in the industry, and also because of its dynamic rendering.
For some of the backend technologies, we use JavaScript. Well, saying JavaScript doesn't say much. This entire project is built in JavaScript. But what I mean by this is that very early on in the project, we entertained the notion of using Node.js and its Express framework, and it was fantastic. It was great. We researched it a lot, but as the project developed, we realized it wasn't really necessary, and we could make do with just vanilla JavaScript. And so that's why we have it like that. We also use the jQuery library just to make some calls to the DOM elements and being able to play around with them a little bit.
And originally, when we were discussing this project, we were like, do we want to use AWS or Firebase? So seem to be the technologies everyone's talking about right now. So we did some research on both and decided that Firebase was going to be less steep of a learning curve, and we didn't want to waste time on anything. So we went with Firebase. And it was a good choice because it's also handling our real-time database, our GitHub login authentication, and it hosts our website. Also, we used Axios specifically for communicating with the GitHub REST API, which is a big part of our project. This is a code snippet where we use Axios to get information from the GitHub API, specifically the user's repos that end in .pocket. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we had an issue with this. JavaScript is asynchronous, and it gave us an issue where we were returning a promise that had yet to been fulfilled. So basically data we couldn't use. So we had to sort that out and make sure we had the specific data being repos and then return that. Go next slide.
So that little code snippet that you see there sort of represents what the user sees when he hits the play button in our application. So he gets that script that he runs, and as he hits the play, the output of the script should be displayed. Now, if you're familiar a little bit with JavaScript, you know that when you want to output, usually you do something like console.log. But console.log outputs to the console. So that was a little bit of an issue with the script would be running and that we get the result, but it's in the console. So how do we get it to display on our page? We ended up overwriting what console log does in our code. So we decided we don't want that functionality anymore. Console log does this other thing now. And this other thing is display the actual result in our website.
Yes, here we have a tiny code snippet about one of our React components. As previously, my friend here, I mean, he's a friend by now, but basically it handles everything that we interact in our application dynamically. This is provided by React. This is what it uses. Components are great. Don't tell me otherwise.
So before, we're going to show you a demo here in a second, but before we show that, we need to tell you how to use our app. There's a few things that you need. You need a GitHub account. You can not use CodePocket without a GitHub because it's directly using the GitHub API to get your code and repos and all that and show it on our website. Another thing is the repository that CodePocket looks at has to end in .pocket. So for example, mine, it was testing .pocket while we were building this project. And it's going to be the only repository that our website looks at. And right now, we can only run JavaScript code. So obviously, all the files in there that are going to appear on our website need to end in .js. And it's only vanilla JavaScript, nothing crazy.
Okay, so now we're going to take a quick look at a small little demo of our application in work. We'll be going to this video. This recording was done on Chris's phone. My friend Chris's phone. So we're going to hit play on that. As we start the demo, we should be at his phone, and he's going to type in the URL for our application. As he puts in his Safari app, we should be landing at the landing page. We'll scroll down on our landing page. You'll see some of the features and technologies that we used. And if you scroll down a little more, you'll be able to meet the team, as they say. We have our LinkedIn and our GitHub profiles in there. We're actually going to go to Aiden's GitHub profile. It's quite nice. It has a nice little piggy on our computer right there. Just a plug. We'll go back to our landing page, and we're going to log in with our GitHub account. So as we press the login button, thanks to Firebase's GitHub authentication, we'll be redirected to the GitHub login page. Chris is now putting in his GitHub profile. He's going to put in his password. Thankfully, iPhone blocks that. It's a pretty long password, so we're going to wait a couple more years. All right, and there we go. We're signed in. And now that we're signed in, we get a little prompt telling us, hey, you're signed in. Now we're going to hit that button. We're going to go into the pocket, as we say. And you can see at the top right corner that his GitHub profile picture is showing. Now he tries to select the file, but there's nothing there. But as he hits the fill the pocket button, we actually grab the testing.pocket repo that he was mentioning before. And as he shows, we're running a dice rolling function that he himself created and is in his repository. And he's actually editing this in real time. So he had a big D20 sided dice, and now he's edited down to a 6. So he's able to edit the code in real time. One more thing that we want to show is that famous code that inspired it all, the tipping algorithm. So here he has it set up with some variables. He's going to hit the play button. As you can see, there's some output. But as we saw before, we can edit this code real time. So let's say we're at a restaurant and the total came to $44.45. And it was pretty good service. So I kind of want to tip 18% at the very least. And I always like that my total ends in a 47 cents. So now that we've edited the code, we can hit the play button again, and the output should update now. So we get a base tip of $8, and the regular payment would have been $52.45. But with our algorithm, we get it to a nice $52.47. And we did that all in real time again with our application. So that's just a small little preview of our demo. We're going to talk now about some of the future challenges. As you can see, we're all only running JavaScript files. So one of the few things that we want to implement in the future is being able to run other languages. I know some people at Holberton would love it if we could run C. It's definitely a love for some people here. We really want to get Python first. Python is a language that most of us really enjoy. It's a base language for a lot of people here at Holberton. It's easy to use, beginner friendly. So I feel like if we could get those .py files to run, it would be a great success. Another thing we really want to do is increase security. So right now, when the user code gets to our application, it is run server side, which it does expose a little bit of a security risk for our users. Therefore, right now, our application is only being tested with authorized GitHub accounts like the ones in the team. But definitely for the future, we want to be able to boost up that security so that everybody could use it.
Some other features that we have planned for our app right now is to bring more customization settings for the user. This could help the user be more engaged while using our app. And also we want to replace our mobile version of the app, migrate it to a native mobile app instead of just having it on the web.
And some last things, we've been talking about adding a note-taking functionality into this since the beginning. Just like we want to run our code anywhere in the world. Say we have an idea at the grocery store, you can open the app and jot that idea down for when you get home and decide to execute and fix the problem. Another thing we need to include is an instructions page. I told you all that you need a GitHub and a .pocket repo and JavaScript files. That is not made apparent on our website. You can only find that in the README for the project. So we want to implement that into the website so users can see it and be like, okay, I need this in my GitHub and that, so they can actually use our platform. And that's it. We'll have our app open for the weekend. You can take a picture or write down that link. We want you to come try it, break it, do whatever with it. You can talk to us after the demo if you're interested in that, or if you have any questions. I set up a Gmail account for CodePocket, so codepocket.co@gmail.com. If you have questions, reach out. I will respond. And that's it for the presentation. So thank you guys.
So I'm going to open the mic for more questions. For the people that are watching us through Zoom, don't hesitate, don't be afraid, don't be shy. You can make questions too, okay? So I'm going to start there now, and then I'm going to move with the panel.
This first question is from Luis Colon. You all know who he is, right? Luis is an alumni. Well, actually not an alumni. He's studying his specialization. So he's saying, great job, guys. Really proud of you. 3 questions. What were the most challenging tasks, both in the back end and the front end? And now that you solved it, would you have done something different?
Well, I'll start it with that. Or very early on in the project, when we had decided to use Firebase, one of the key features of Firebase was that GitHub authentication. And well, we managed to do that redirection. You saw it live right now. We were able to go to the GitHub, log in, and we got the information we needed from the login to be able to play around with the rest of the app. That took us around 5 days because we were stuck on a small little bug where every time we get a redirection, we would get the token from the GitHub API that we needed, and then it would vanish. And the reason it was is because it was being redirected twice. So as you saw, once we logged in, we got back to the landing page. Originally, once you logged in, you would be redirected automatically to the Pocket page. And so that redirection by Firebase's standards counted as another redirection result, which would completely eliminate the token. And it was something that we actually kind of like made a conversation about. It was like, we might have to tell users to implement their own token. And I woke up one morning, it was like, oh, this is it. This has to be it. I went to school that day. I coded it, and I was it.
I was initially really worried because, like you said, that took us 5 days to solve. So on the 4th day, I was like, are we going to be able to get this done on time, or do we need a backup plan? We had a backup plan, but David clutched up and solved it. But we were going to have the prompt the user for an access token that GitHub provides you and have them give that. But thankfully, we didn't need to do that. Do you want to talk front end?
Some front end issues. I mean, the biggest issue in front end was definitely making the mobile version. This was my mistake completely because I did all the desktop site first, and that was very wrong because we were intending to make this app originally for the phones, so for mobile only. And then I didn't took that into account and started with the desktop site first. I would definitely, for another project, I would approach first the mobile and then worry about all the desktop side.
I want to add on a little bit to that. When we were trying to get it to work on mobile, it works on browser just fine. But when we were trying to make it appear on mobile, Aiden had a working environment for my iPhone XR, and everything looked amazing on the computer. But when we went to do the website on my phone, it's like everything was like out of place. So it was a lot of like troubleshooting to get it to appear exactly as we wanted.
All right, super. Let's go with Justin. I want to start with you now.
Well, yeah, great job. And I'm glad to see an efficient use of technology. It's with these sort of things, you want to pick your battles carefully. And I think you did that. So I'm really glad to see how that turned out. My only question is, how would you try to make this accessible for non-developers who might not be familiar with GitHub? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, so it was actually a suggestion from one of my friends who's not a non-developer, and he's actually in this room right now looking at me. So obviously this idea came to mind with programmers. It was sort of a niche thing for programmers to do little programs and algorithms that they could solve menial tasks in their daily lives. But if we were to throw this into the non-programming world, would just a small idea that I brainstormed with my friend could be, what about a guest account that could then access some sort of marketplace for popular codes that other GitHub users have developed? He could just select those codes, have them in his pocket, as we call it, and he could run those anytime. He wouldn't have any, he'd just have to, I guess, be used to changing the variable for now.
No, great thinking. So yeah, glad to see it and great job.
Congratulations again. I think that it was well explained, great team effort. I think that it showed that you work as a team. So I would like to congratulate you for that. And my question is in terms of the impact. Also, we have other applications that are of social impact. So how you would like to elevate or to change it, or maybe add some social or any other kind of impact in terms of outside of the developer?
I think I understand your question. Off the top of my head, it might be cool to include like maybe a feed or timeline from like other developer friends you have on CodePocket, see what they're doing.
Collaboration.
Yeah, that could be a fun idea. I just thought of as you were talking about that, but I think that's all I have to add on to that. Thank you.
It's okay. Thank you.
Great job. Very well rounded. I love how you guys explained and walked us through the process, how you chose your technologies, how you decided to simplify where it made sense for the sake of time. I like those decisions a lot. I think the possibilities are endless. Really, all I was just curious after hearing the whole presentation was, besides the two examples of code that you showed in the video, what other crazy ideas did you guys come up with to as far as algorithms?
I can kind of answer that. We had a finished product and we could test stuff. I made a JavaScript file that was like 200 lines long with like functions in it, and a weird console. I just did as much weird stuff as I could do to see what happened, and it ran most of it. I want to do more testing, but time just escaped me, and I spent time on other things. But that is something that we did.
It's funny as you asked that question, because very early on in the project, when we brainstormed this, we were like, oh, we could do this and we could do that and we could do that. And as the end of the project came, and we're like, okay, we're going to implement some functions. What functions can we write? So it's definitely something we should have written down at the very early beginning of the project. But just really one quick thing that comes to mind. I don't know if any one of you here plays a game called Dungeons and Dragons. I play a game. I run it. Mercy's laughing at me. I know. I play the game and I run it. And sometimes in this game you have to keep track of many things, especially order in these turns, as game lingo would be. And it's a pain in my head, to just keep track of this on paper or on my computer. And one of the things is like, I'm just going to write a quick function on my CodePocket app. That's just, I enter the names, I enter what values they got when they were rolling for their turn, and it just orders them for me. So that was just another quick thought that I had.
Great job.
Super. Any questions from the back here? I have one from O'Neill.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but is your code being run through a cloud service, or is it locally through the physical device of the person who's running it?
No. So our code is not being run to the cloud per se. Our code is being run server side. So what is cloud technology is some of the database that we use to store some user information and stuff like that. But once we get the information from GitHub that we have in our server, we have the necessary functions or calls that we need to grab that code, read it, screen it for any lost in translation things that might have happened, and run it right there.
Thank you.
All right, applause for them. Good job, guys. I'm pretty positive that your peers from school would like to have the application on their phone, right? Test out the code. Maybe you're not in the mindset, but like I felt identify with David, because sometimes the solutions, they don't come right in the moment when you want them. That's why I tell them, like, you need to take a break, take a walk, and you see how the ideas start, flowing through your mind. And then you go ahead and take notes on CodePocket. So that when you go back to coding, you have that right there and you can test it out, right? That's I love that idea ever since they came the first time to show it to me. So yeah, so this has been our 4 teams for the cohort 17. And for this demo day, it's been 9 very challenging months, 9 months, where they started, as I said before, some started with no experience, some had a little bit of experience. They took on the challenge with little to no rest to be able to, achieve this idea that they had. Okay, so now I'm gonna call Mercy to the stage for the closure. Okay.
Thank you. Again, congratulations. You cannot imagine how proud we are of all of you. You're awesome. Yeah, this is my fifth demo day since I joined Holberton. I'm still amazed by the work that they do, what they're able to accomplish in such a short period of time. You truly are special. And I hope you understand that. And I hope that everybody values you the way we do. Now, I also want to add that you've done a lot of work and you're great, but you're not here alone. I mean, you've had a group of people that have been supporting you throughout the 9 months. And the first recognition I'd like to have is here, Jeffrey Martinez, our software engineer and education lead. He's their everyday mentor for them and for every cohort. I'd also like to recognize here, Jandre Zapata, our student success manager. He's on top of them to make sure they're ready for today, that they have their, GitHubs clean and their LinkedIn profiles and their nice professional photograph. So we want to make sure that you guys are successful, and Andres is a big part of that. And we also have somebody else back there. You probably met her when you walked in, and that is Jelitza Rivera, our admissions manager. So you're all here because of her. So thank you, Jelitza. And we have two of our investors. One of them couldn't be here, our chief mentor, Adam Beglin. I think you mentioned him when you were talking about the inspiration for your project. He's out of the country, he's out of Puerto Rico, but he sends you his regards and congratulations. And we also have the other half of the team that brought Holberton to Puerto Rico. The reason we're all here, and it's Cyril Meduña, he's right there. Cyril, would you like to come up and say a few words? No.
I'm shy, so I'm gonna keep it short. But amazing job. It's so much excitement to every time I come to these to see a teacher become a programmer. What are you gonna do after graduation? Are you gonna go back to teaching, or are you gonna? Well, so it's a life-changing experience for a lot of people, which is one of the missions we have. We need so many people like you here in Puerto Rico to do all the good things for the economy, and that one of the main advantages that Puerto Rico has is its people. We have beautiful beaches and we have all that, but that's not going to make it. I think that the mines are important, and you're part of that. We have great musicians, we have great artists, and we will soon, with you and everybody else graduating from Holberton, have great minds in programming and technology. So I also want to thank the recruiters that are here looking at our students to bring them on to work with you. If the model to keep the school going is the students who graduate give back in order to keep the school going. We don't charge tuition, so I think that allows anybody to come and study. You don't have to come from a wealthy family, you don't have to have lots of money, but we team up with you, and if you get a good job, you pay back to the school so that we can then host the next class that's coming in and the future classes that are going to be coming into the school. And so the recruiters are a big part of that, and our students on average, I think, are getting now $60,000 when they graduate, which is a good salary in Puerto Rico by all means. So there's higher and lower, but on average it's 60,000. So thank you for the recruiters for coming here, and pretty fast. So be fast in talking to them. There's another group that helps, which is so we provide the tuition for free, but a lot of the people that come and study have families or they have other commitments, and it's very hard for them not to work. And there's a group of people that give donations to provide student scholarships. And these are living stipends for the students that are that are here, and some, so some of them couldn't study full time like they have to. I think most of you did full-time studying, right? And they have other financial, have families and children. So I want to thank those people that provide those scholarships, which helped a lot of these people be able to graduate. That's my time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Cyril, for making this project possible and for bringing Holberton to Puerto Rico into our lives. So thank you to the judges. Thank you so much. Your questions were great. I think they made them think, and think they're going to go home and keep thinking about some of them and hopefully just improve and grow their projects. So thank you very much to everybody who's been here visiting. Now we have a little get together in the back. Feel free to join us. Walk up to our students and ask more questions or talk about their projects. Thank you to everybody who connected remotely. And we will have a recording available of today's presentation next week. And we will send out some links so you can all watch it again if you want to and enjoy all the excitement again. So thank you very much and goodbye. See you in the next demo day.